Hello there, everybody. Captain Census. And yes, if you're seeing Captain Census, and that means Mr. Randy Bufford, must have called me in for a special duty. And certainly the stats that I looked at indicated you guys are about 375 behind plan. And it was a very convenient time for him to call upon me because I looked at my calendar, and lo and behold, first Saturday in May is the Kentucky Derby. So let's get up into the Midwest. Let's go by and visit some campuses. And hey, I could hang around and go watch the horses run for those magical 2 minutes there at Churchill Downs. But having said that, let's get down to business here. And after those campus visits, I dug into those stats. And, first and foremost, there are 71 of 106 communities that are behind plan as I'm talking to you right now. That doesn't make anybody happy, including the captain. So I got to let you know that we got to work on that. And the best way to work on it is to understand what's going on. And certainly, so I dug down into the stats, and what I saw kind of surprised me in a few areas. But I wanted to check on a few things because I look at the stats, and before I moved ahead, I had to ask Mr. Bufford. I said, listen, first of all, let's check on the basics here. How are the services? How are the employees doing? Because we all know the Trilogy model that I've learned as the captain over the years starts with employees' wellness, followed by great customer service. And guess what? Both boxes checked. 4.25 on the ESS, 9.30 on your CSS, which, by the way, last time you saw the captain was about 8.78 as an organization. So you guys have not only gotten bigger, I see that in the stats, you've gotten better. So that's not the issue. The second box I want to know a little bit more about, and I got some background information and experienced it a little bit of myself as I was prepping for my visit with Mr. Bufford, is I wanted to find out about competition. And yes, there is some competition in your markets, and so we have to be sharper and better. But you know what? None of those markets I visited, and I asked Mr. Bufford about this, have that full Trilogy continuum model. And so my question is, are you guys selling it? Are you selling it as the full continuum? Not just from the resident wellness and safety that comes from round-the-clock nursing, but having our own contract therapy teams. That Paragon Rehabilitation, they are the best therapy provider in the Midwest, if not the entire free world as Captain Census knows it. Let's take advantage of those things. We have a full continuum. We have a one-time move. We have resident safety. So as Trilogy, you guys need to sell that and get out and let people know, because at those other communities, some of them even have policies. If there's a fall incident, they've got to call an ambulance because they aren't skilled to take care of these residents. We know how to do that. That is the Trilogy background. So as I was listening to Mr. Bufford talk about this, checked off those boxes. So then it goes down to basics for me. I was just kind of looking through the data, and one thing I can tell you that the data told me, first of all, is you're behind plan in Medicaid and Medicaid admissions. And that was very surprising since your services are the best in town, you have beautiful facilities, and Medicaid usually is full with a waiting list. And that tells me a little bit about the outreach, which was my message number 2 as it relates to statistics. Inquiries in outlier areas are something that you need to be tracking, because in many Trilogy communities, the referrals are not just from the small, mothership community, but due to size, it's really the whole county, or it may be a multiple county area. And so we have to be out, generating inquiries, referrals from those areas. And that's that age-old guerrilla marketing at play. And I found in some of the places the captain visited, not all, because obviously some people are ahead of plan, there wasn't enough community outreach. And I can give you an idea of how this outreach is not working to our advantage right now, as we have that Trilogy, that great senior executive club I've learned about over the years. And that senior executive club is designed to bring that community in, have something fun, a great meal to show off our dining services, but it's also a sales event. And in one gentleman I met as the captain was rounding, we were talking about, he goes, I love Trilogy. He said, they have this great event each month. And when I first got the invite to that, and I came the first couple of times, I thought I was going to get the hard sell. I don't get any sell there. And that's not what we're looking for. We are looking for the hard sale. We are looking subtly to let people know we're looking for the business. We've got open units we need to fill. If people are doing post-acute type events, we need to have them. So take advantage of all your resources. And that senior exec club needs to be a sales event. Captain was pretty surprised by that. And I can tell you, Mr. Bufford, when I reported back that, was not happy. But, you know, that's an opportunity to get better. The other opportunity I saw and discovered in just looking at some data and then doing some, and I appreciate the candid feedback the captain receives from everybody on these, is that inquiries, not everyone was being followed up on. And I don't need to tell you the inquiries are like gold and referrals are like gold, and we need to be following up on them. And so work diligently on inquiry follow-up. Make sure you're using your tracking systems, making sure you're tracking things, which, by the way, I asked people if we were tracking the sales calls. We used to do like 50, 60 sales calls, and we'd want to track and see how we're doing that. And a few people looked at me pretty quizzically when I asked that question. They're like, whoa, we're not tracking that anymore. Maybe we need to. The captain doesn't know. He'll let the masters at be at Trilogy decide that. But, you know, guerrilla marketing, community outreach is not just internet and Facebook pages and, you know, having our Twitter feed. It's one-on-one contacts, and those may be in church settings and blood pressure clinics, you know, state fairs, going by and delivering food to the first responders, whatever. It's all just touches and points. And so anyway, check out guerrilla marketing. If you don't know the definition, I would strongly encourage you to do that. Now, because this inquiry thing was an issue, I asked Mr. Bufford, what are you going to do about that? It seems like to me from my reading in the sector that your system you have for that is just not up to stuff, and it's not. And so Trilogy has had an RFP process, and they have selected a company called Inquire Solutions. Now, it won't be here for a while. It takes a while to implement these things, but I can tell you help is on the way, you marketing gurus out there in the field. We're going to get you a little bit better system on behalf of Trilogy to work with, and then execution will be easier, but still on all of us to make that happen. A computer system won't make us better. It'll just make us more organized. So anyway, a couple of closing thoughts that in my conversation with Mr. Bufford. First of all, there are 35 campuses ahead of plan, and we want to give them the love. And I've got a list here, but special shout out to Commerce, Lafayette St. Mary, Louisville, Forest Springs, Romeo, Novi, and leading the charge, just about 30 plus over plan, is that great new Lexington Fritz Farm facility, knocking it out of the park. So congratulations to you. But more importantly, yes, thanks. Yes, there's applause even in the background to the people that are hearing this message. But more importantly, how are we going to make a recovery of 375? Well, it's a little bit at a time. And you know, as I talked with Mr. Bufford and I reflected, even the captain can learn from other people. It's really been something around Trilogy is that they've improved just little bits at a time. And so what we're going to be doing is asking each campus community who's behind plan, you know, to kind of increase your census by an average of 2 or 3 this month and then in the subsequent months. Don't make up all that deficit at one time. But the average, which is the stat you want to be tracking, because it's not just what you got your census to, it's what you average for the month, because you know your campuses at Trilogy have a ton of post-acute admissions, up and down discharges, and so it's that average. And so you'll be receiving a communication from your divisional vice president, and they're going to, you know, first of all, let you know what April looked like for you, maybe some trending information so you can be on the same page with them, and then set a goal for the month of May of an average increase, just a little bit at a time. And I looked at those numbers, and there weren't any of them, especially for those stable campuses been around a while. It's mostly increase 2, increase 3 at the most. Some of them were 1. And then for those people that have planned, keep knocking it out of the park. And you may be just asking you to hold steady. That's all we need you to do, because I think the overall goal for the company to go up this month was 85. And as I looked at it, and I looked at Mr. Bufford, I was kind of like, well, why wouldn't it be 106? Each campus doing 1. It's not even 1. He said, that's all we need to do. Mr. Census, if we can have an 85 increase average daily census in May, that'd be knocking it out of the park. So if it's good for Mr. Bufford, it's good for Captain Census, and I'm on it. So anyway, in closing, I just want to let you know management might be focusing on you a little bit more if you're behind that census curve. Work with them. You know, they've got a lot of experience, and we're going to be deploying as many boots on the ground to make sure that guerrilla marketing is going good and having fun while we're doing it. And that's why Captain Census is here. I'm here to have fun. And I like being around Trilogy people because they're the best people in the Midwest, and they know how to have fun. And so like every other challenge, every other opportunity that we have, you know, and I experience in life, if you're having fun doing it, it just goes better. And I applaud Trilogy for making it a great place to work. You know, they had a recent conference. They talked all about recognition. And man, that's the key. Doing it in a positive way. And so we're going to continue to be positive. We're going to get out and tell the story because you know what? People aren't coming, not because they don't want to. They don't know the story. So we're going to get out and sell hard because we know when they get there, you guys know how to close. So let's generate more referrals, more inquiries. Let's have a ton of fun. And the captain will be back at you sometime in the near future. God bless each and every one of you and everything that you do. And thanks again for helping that company be the best healthcare company in the Midwest. Take care from the captain.